What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten channel. Going to give you a very early projected record for Indiana here in this video. Before we get to 2024, let's look back at some of the projections from 2023. Here were some of the projections from last season for Indiana. Of course, 3-9 was their record. Our projection had them at 5-7. I actually picked them to go 4-8. Athlon had them at 4-8. The over/under was at 3.5, so they really were. I mean, a little bit under what you would expect, but they were expected to be, maybe 4-8. It's not like they were a big disappointment. Again, this is just not a team that was expected to do a whole lot and had a pretty tough schedule, which any team at the bottom of the Big Ten East is going to have a tough schedule, obviously, when you've got to go through Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, even Maryland. Maryland was pretty solid last year, so it was a tough schedule. Obviously, and again, the schedule much more favorable this year. This is the scale that we use to get this projection. If it's under 20 or over 80, those are games we count as wins or losses. 20-29, 71-80 games where I think the spread's going to be, 2 touchdowns, maybe a little more than that. 30-39, 61-70 games where I think the spread's going to be closer to around a touchdown, 6, 7, 8 points, and then the 50-50 games that could really go either way. And again, it's not about the spreads. It's just a formula that we use. We have a tier system, and we get these percentages from that. So I think easy win is Western Illinois. I think Indiana should absolutely take care of business in that one. They played, I believe, Indiana State and an FCS opponent last year, and they won easily. And I think this Indiana team is going to be better this year. So that's definitely in the green. I think FIU and Charlotte are debatable. Maybe they should be in the green. I'm going to put them in the blue, though, just because Indiana was again not very good last year, and these are at least FBS opponents, so we'll put those games in the blue. But I think Indiana's probably favored by at least a couple of touchdowns. And then on the flip side, I think they're going to be about a touchdown underdog against UCLA, Northwestern, and Washington. I'm not going to say they have no chance to win these games, but I think they will clearly be the underdog. Again, UCLA, Northwestern, both on the road. Washington's interesting. Because of all their roster turnover, I think they could potentially drop way off, and so maybe that's a game that Indiana could win. But I do think they will be underdogs in that one. And then a little bit of a bigger underdog against Michigan. We're talking at least a couple touchdowns in that game, but it is at home. Michigan's not going to be as good as they were last season, so it's not going to be impossible for Indiana to win that game, but very, very unlikely. And again, that one winds up in the orange, and then one in the red is Ohio State. And I don't see any chance of Indiana winning this game, especially on the road against I think one of the top 2, definitely top 4 teams in the country. I just don't see Indiana having any chance in that game. So that means you've got Maryland, Nebraska, Michigan State, and Purdue. These are the games that can go either way. These are the games that you've got to win. And to get to a bowl game, assuming they beat FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte, to get to a bowl game, they would have to go 3-1 in these games. Good news is 3 of them are at home. But again, it's going to be tough. Maryland and Nebraska are going to be tough. I think those are teams that are probably going to be better than Indiana. Michigan State, maybe Indiana is pretty even with them, but they play them on the road. And then I think Indiana and Purdue are both going to be improved this year. I don't know if you'll see that in their records, but just the performances on the field, I think you're going to see better play from both Indiana and Purdue. So that could be a big game at the end of the season. Perhaps a game where the winner could get to a bowl game. We'll see, but they get it at home, so I think that helps. But projection-wise, again, the odds are going to say that they're going to win these games in the blue and the green, and they split the 50-50 games, and then with 3 games in the yellow, if you have 3 of those, the odds are that you're going to win one of those 3 games. So if they're able to do that, that gets them to a bowl game, and that's actually the projection. I'm not predicting that they're going to get to a bowl game. Maybe I will. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but again, our predictions will come a little bit later, but projection-wise, this team is projected to go 6-6. So anything over that is a great season. Anything under that is a disappointing season. And I really feel like with this schedule, Indiana, their goal has to be, and it's a realistic goal, I think their goal should be to get to a bowl game and get to 6-6 this season. What are your thoughts on Indiana? Give me your projections down in the comments below.